Hello, my name is Annette Dalloo, and you are listening to The Heart of You. I would like to invite you to an extraordinary journey to your intuition. This is a 3-day in-person immersive experience with myself and Angie Decanales. Basically, we want you to forget everything that you know about psychic abilities and let yourself be surprised. Some of the benefits to this workshop is that you can gain more confidence in your intuition, you can be more assertive in your life, draw healthy boundaries, make conscious choices, and find creative solutions to the challenges of your day-to-day life. One of the things that is really important on this journey is to be able to connect in with other people in person. Over the internet is great as well, but in person is better. We can really spend the time together. We can cultivate a beautiful energy together. And every group that's going to come together for these workshops is going to have its own unique resonance. And we're going to explore all kinds of things like mediumship and channeling and automatic writing. We're going to take a look at the Akashic records, quantum hypnosis. You're going to experience light codes and light language, sound healing and breath work. There are going to be all kinds of wonderful things that you're going to experience over these 3 days. If you are in Europe, or maybe you want to use this as an excuse to take a little vacation, the extraordinary journey to your intuition is taking place in Paris, January 26th, 27th, and 28th, 2024. If you are in London, Angie and I will be there February 23rd, 24th, and 25th of 2024. And then the third set of dates for the first half of 2024 is in Amsterdam, May 31st, June 1st, and 2nd. If you would like more information, please head to my website at infinitesoullove.com/store. You will see all of the information and all of the details there. Looking forward to all of you beautiful souls joining us for this extraordinary experience. Welcome back to the weekly channeled message. I know that it hasn't been so weekly recently because I was taking a little break. I went on a little holiday and was spending some time with family as well. So I would like to welcome you back, and I will be doing the weekly channeled message now probably through mid-December, and then I'm going to take another break for the holidays. One of the things that I was feeling guided to talk about today is the subject of relationships and romance while you're on the spiritual journey. The challenge with relationships and romance while you're on a spiritual journey is that you are changing and growing so rapidly that oftentimes it has a tendency to feel a little frenetic in the energy. So maybe somebody you resonated with 2 months ago isn't resonating with you now. And that's pretty normal when it comes to that rapid growth. You might feel like, oh, wow, I'm kind of, picky, or I'm not sure what I want, or, whatever that happens to be. And that's okay. Because basically what you're responding to is the energy of the other person. That's what we always do. We're always responding to the energy first. So if you imagine somebody approaching you, their energy field is going to touch your energy field first before you even come into contact with each other. And so you're leading with whatever energy that is in your auric field. So if you're in a very sort of up and down energy, like you would during a dark night of the soul, where you feel like you're having that ego death, that is the energy that you're going to be leading with. And so that might be kind of difficult for another person if their energy is really stable. Likewise, if you have somebody who is not really growing very rapidly, and let's say you resonate with each other on a particular level energetically, and it only lasts for maybe a few weeks or a few months, that's simply because you're growing at a faster rate than they are. So what happens in that respect is that you can either sort of wait it out and see if the other person is able to get into that space of growth, or you can separate and then possibly come back together at a different time. The challenge is knowing what to do when, and if something is working or if something isn't, when to give something more of a chance, when to walk away. Like all of those questions about your connection, not only to your other person, but then to yourself and how that pertains to your own spiritual growth. So I felt guided to ask the guides for a channeled message today to help us through that sort of situation. I understand what it's like because in the early stages of my spiritual awakening, it was very much about me being single. And this was important because my tendency was in codependency. What I had to do for my spiritual growth was to disconnect from the idea that somebody else accepting me, loving me, appreciating me, doing things for me, all of those things had anything to do with my own self-worth. That's what I needed to unravel. So it was very important for me to be single for quite some time so I could understand and learn that my self-worth, how I feel about myself, my self-confidence, all of that is not tied to anyone but me. And so if somebody comes up to me and is really interested in me and then a few months later they're not, that's fine. That's totally fine because I'm not attaching my self-worth to that person. Now, could it be sad if I really liked the person? Yeah, of course. Of course you're going to go through your whole gamut of human emotions, but from a perspective of, is it going to tank my energy? Is it going to devastate me if this person doesn't want to be with me anymore? Absolutely not. When it comes to your own personal journey, you have to take a look at those shadows, those things that you definitely need to work on. And maybe it's something completely different. Maybe it is something like you don't open your heart very often to people. And so maybe it is on your spiritual journey that you're going to be dating a whole lot of people because it's teaching you how to open your heart and trust. So there's no one answer for everyone. But I do want to get a little bit of guidance as to how to navigate this, how to navigate the romance, the relationship piece while you're going through the big portions of your spiritual awakening that are pretty topsy-turvy, as well as they can be ever changeable. And I'm getting the energy of Archangel Raphael. I'm going to ask Archangel Raphael if he can channel some messages for us about being in connection, being in relationship, because they are two different things. Being in connection, being in relationship, and romance while you're going through some pretty serious parts of your spiritual journey. One of the things that I would like to first address is something that Annette said earlier about being in connection and being in relationship and how they are two different things. They are, in fact, two very different things. We have relationships with lots of people. We have friendships. We have situationships. We have relationships with our family members, with our coworkers, with other people that we see throughout our days. The difference between relationship and connection is the energy between you. Relationship is exactly what it sounds like. You're relating to each other on a three-dimensional level. You're relating to each other back and forth via verbal communication or texting or phone calls, whatever it happens to be. You are relating to each other. And you're relating in a way that is common for you. So you look at the commonalities between you two. Something you can talk about, something you can connect into in terms of your 3D lives. The relationships on this planet at this time are exactly that. Most of them are relationships, because they don't go much deeper than your day-to-day three-dimensional lives. You talk about what you have in common, what movies you like, what TV shows, what hobbies you like, if you're into fitness or cooking or whatever it happens to be. And while some of these things are important in certain respects, if you want to look at it from another perspective, none of it is important. What you do in your 3D lives isn't really important from the standpoint of connection. With connection, it's about that heart space connection. It is about connecting your souls to a point of understanding each other on that soul level, being autonomous in your energy while still being interconnected. Being interconnected does not mean codependency. Interconnected means that you are joining the forces of your energy. One of the things that Annette says all the time, and she sees this regularly in her sessions, is that when she's in session with another client who is also very powerful in their energy, the combination of those two energies create a bigger energy. And when that happens, magic happens. More beauty can come into the world, more manifestation of what you want to have come into the world. And also some of the things maybe you don't want to have come into the world depending on your energy. If you have two people who are in fear coming together, they will manifest more fear. That is how it works. So the connection part is actually the most important part. What Annette was talking about, which was the elements of being on this spiritual journey in the beginning stages and in the middle stages, as she said. I would actually reframe that, and I wouldn't say in the beginning stages because you all have been on this journey for a very, very long time. I will say in the change points, the major change points of this journey, because that's what they are. They are the major change points where you go through your dark nights of the soul and your ego deaths and all of that. They are those change points that are allowing you to leap into the new energy. If you can imagine one energy overlapping another, so if you're moving through these change points, you're overlapping on either end. So you're in old energy, but then you're also partway into the new energy. If you meet somebody during this period of time, you're going to meet somebody who is probably in the same energy. Now, it depends on whether or not this person is in a change point or not. They may not be in a change point. They may be just in that energy all the time. And that is where you're going to have those temporary connections. Those temporary connections are also very valuable, though, because what happens is you end up learning something about yourself, they learn something from you, and then you move on. The change points can last months or years. They can last days. It's very different for every single person. From Annette's perspective, her change point, the major one that she had back in 2013, that one lasted 4.5 years. So for 4.5 years, she was going through all sorts of changes. And then even 2 years after that, she was still going through more changes, although they were less abrupt, they were less severe, but they were still change points nonetheless. So had she dated somebody back during that time who was an energetic match to her, she would not have been an energetic match to them a few weeks later, a few months later, a few years later. So that is why oftentimes you will find on your spiritual journey that you might be perpetually single, or you might have a partner that you have been with for many, many, many years, and all of a sudden you find that you are no longer connected. And that is something that can happen. It's something that can happen on the journey. Now, just because you're not connected anymore, does that mean it's time to leave? That is a question that only you can answer. It is a question that you need to go within and ask your intuition if this person is somebody who can eventually grow with you or not. The other thing that most people have trouble with is this idea of non-attachment. And the reason why I want to address this now is because it has to do with the difference that I'm talking about right now between relationship and connection. When you have that connection energetically, there are no words, there are no physical actions that need to be taken. There is nothing except that energetic connection. And everything else is secondary. And you know it when you have it. You know when you have that connection on a soul level, you can feel it. And you know in your heart that you can trust this person implicitly, and that even if the relationship in the 3D only lasts for a few months or a year or a couple of years, that it is a significant one, and that you can appreciate it for what it is in the time that you have it. when a lot of people get caught up in the 3D aspects of a connection, that is where they can trip themselves up. So if you know you have a connection and you feel it energetically, but yet the 3-dimensional aspects are not what society tells you a significant other is supposed to do, or if the 3-dimensional actions are not what you have known a significant other to do in the past, I will challenge you to ask yourself what it is you truly need. When it comes to being in codependency, it is about constantly asking the person to make you feel better about where you are in your life. And if you are in a place of healthy attachment, it means that you love this person or that you really want this person around, but you don't necessarily need those same things that society tells you you need to have in a relationship. Those are things that you decide on your own, whether or not it's something that is important to you. So if physical touch is important to you, then maybe that is something that you truly want to partake in on a regular basis. And if your partner doesn't give you that, then you need to have a conversation about that and discuss if it's something that you can connect with together. That is where the 3D aspects of relationship start coming into play with connection. It always comes in after the connection if the connection is going to last. Otherwise, the entire relationship based on 3-dimensional things is going to end up ending much sooner than you think because they are not based in anything that is substance. Now, you might say that 3-dimensional things are substance. Well, they are from the standpoint of they are 3-dimensional things in this world. But when you look at the connection on an energetic basis, and there's no foundation behind it, then you know that those superficial things will eventually fall away. And what are you going to be left with? You are going to be left with a potential energetic mismatch, in which case you will see that and you will want to move in a different direction. Oftentimes, people don't understand why they all of a sudden are not interested in their partners, or all of a sudden they don't want to be with the person they're with. They don't understand why that is. Oftentimes this is the case. It is because it is not based on that energetic connection. It is based on those 3-dimensional things that you relate to, those movies, those TV shows, those hobbies, whatever they happen to be. And so when those change, and you know when you're on a spiritual journey, all of those things change. You may still keep some of the old things that you used to like to do, of course, but they do 100% shift and change. What you like shifts and changes as you move through this journey. So you can't base a relationship on that because it's an ever-changing thing. The thing that is not ever-changing is the status of the connection. So as long as the connection that you have with another person is in a place of healthiness, is in a place of allowing, it's in a place of flow, it is in a place of possible complementary energy, then you know that it'll stick around for as long as you are in that energetic matching place. This is not to say that if you are not an exact match energetically of each other, you cannot be together. That is completely untrue because our energies are constantly fluctuating over the course of the day, weeks, months. But what happens is you're taking almost an average of that energy, an average of the energy on a whole and what your energy is. And do they connect together well? Sometimes you might find somebody's energy completely repels you. And that's great because what that does is it shows you places where you need to work on things in your own shadow. We always have to appreciate everybody where they are. We have to take people where they are at the truth of their energy. You might find that you get confused when you meet somebody who does a bunch of things in the 3D, and then you feel into their energy and their energy feels super, super different. That is also very common, especially when people are wearing masks, when they're hiding behind certain things that they don't want to show to the world. They don't want to show their energy. They don't want to show what they're actually feeling. That is where you are going to feel that discrepancy. You might ask, how do I know if I am in connection or in relationship? Connection, you will know when you are in the right energetic frequencies You will feel it. It will feel like a little buzz in your body. And we're not talking about sexual energy here. We're talking about energy in terms of your overall aura, your auric field, what you're leading with, what we were talking about earlier. You will feel it in your body. You will know. This is oftentimes what people talk about when they say, oh, I just saw this person and I knew. That's exactly what they're talking about. They're talking about that connection. There's a reason why when you meet somebody, you know almost instantly whether or not you could connect. And oftentimes that has to do with whether or not their energy is open, whether or not your energy is open, whether they're in the flow, whether you're in the flow. There's a lot of factors that can come into that. But ultimately, when people say that they just know that they want to be with this person, but they can't describe it, they can't explain it, that is called connection because it cannot be put into words. It is something that just exists. Many of you out there might be saying, well, how do I get this connection? Well, it's not something that you can just create in the 3D. It is something you need to create where? On the energetic level. That is where manifestation comes in. That is where you connect in with your guides to ask them for exactly what is meant for you at this time. This goes back to the previous topic of, is it in your highest good to be in connection right now? From one perspective, you're always in connection with somebody. We always have connections with friends, with family, with other people in our lives. But when it comes to that romantic connection that you're looking for, it is something that you must feel first. It is something that you must energetically connect to first. The other aspect I would like you to look at is, what are you looking for in relationship or in connection? Is it a longing? Because the longing itself can actually show you some things about yourself that you need to address. Ultimately, when you are sovereign in your own energy, there is no longing for another because you are fully complete in your own energy. This is where sometimes it can feel isolating when you go through your spiritual awakening, because this is part of what it is teaching you, is that you have everything you need within you right now in this moment. When it comes to connecting with other souls, it is also very important for the experience. But ultimately, if you are complete within yourself, every other person you meet on this planet will show you exactly what you need to see. And so you are much more likely to attract other people who are also complete within themselves, because energy attracts like energy. That is how it all works in terms of why you attract certain people all the time, why you're always in similar relationships all the time. This is why when we go into the Akashic records and look at previous patterns, we can see why we were doing things the way that we were and allowing ourselves to change and move through that. Because changing our energy is the only way that we can get out of those energies. When you are in a state of peace, when you are in a state of neutrality, when you are one within yourself, you are much less shakeable in terms of what happens in a relationship. You are much less triggered by what the other person is doing or not doing. You are much less needing the other person to be something that they may not be able to be for you right now. You hear the phrase, it takes a village, and that is also very correct. You cannot expect one person to be everything for you in this 3D life. It is the same on the energetic planes. There are reasons why we have members of our soul family who are incarnated with us right now, and then we have other members of other soul families who come in and play different roles, because it is necessary for the experience that we are having here on Earth. So expecting one person to fulfill everything for you is very much about placing your three-dimensional expectations on someone, and it might not even be their path to do that for you. Being sovereign in your own energy does not mean being unfeeling. It does not mean that you are not connected to others. It does not mean that you must be alone. But what it means is that your energy is complete within itself, and you're not looking for that completion in another or in many others. This is what we, on the other side, your spirit guides, your team, are helping you to achieve. Because once you're able to get to that space on a more regular basis. You will be able to see the truth of the energy that is before you at all times. Practice this. Practice seeing through the eyes of the energy first, before seeing through the eyes of the 3D actions, the 3D words. Connect in with your person. See if you can connect and see how that shifts and changes how you show up in this world. For all of you that are single out there, we understand that it is difficult sometimes to be alone. We understand that it can be lonely on a human level. It doesn't always have to be that way. You can enjoy your own company. You can spend time with others. And when you least expect it, that connection will come in. You have to be open to it. If you are wallowing in loneliness, if you are wallowing in sorrow for being single, that is not the energy that you want to be in order to attract another like energy. Because if you are in that perpetual loneliness, you will also manifest somebody who is just as lonely, and you will perpetuate that loneliness together, even in relationship. It is about making sure that the majority of your energy is in the place that you want it to be. And you can't force that. You can't fake out the universe and make the universe think that you're in a particular energy when you're not. Energy doesn't lie. So the only way to that space that you want to get to is by doing the inner work. This is why we do the inner work. If you don't know what the inner work is, if you don't know what you must do in order to get to the space that you want to get to have these beautiful connections, reach out for help. Ask your guides for help. Ask your angels. Ask your community. They are here to help you. There is nothing that can't be accomplished. You are all divine souls, capable of infinite possibilities. You limit yourselves too much. Expand that energy. Know what you are capable of, and you will be delightfully surprised at the joy and connection that you are able to achieve. Okay, thank you, Archangel Raphael, for that beautiful message. I understand what Archangel Raphael is talking about because it is something that I have personally gone through over the course of the years, feeling that I was always perpetually single. I mean, granted, of course, I've had a bunch of relationships and whatnot that have been, a couple years here, a couple years there, but it's something that I've always wondered about in my three-dimensional life of, okay, so why is it that there are people that just seem to be perpetually in relationships, and then there are people that seem to be perpetually single? And I've always wondered why that was, right? And for me, I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that my heart was closed. It had a lot to do with the pain that I was in and the feelings that I had of not being loved by certain people in my life, or, it also had to do with past life situations. But regardless of the reasons, I was always seeking for that love outside of myself. And it was part of my life's purpose in this lifetime to anchor in that unconditional love on the planet. And so in order to do that, I had to experience the antithesis of that so I could have that context. Because it was part of my life purpose, until I learned the lesson and until I got to the space where I am now, which is in that really lovely space of neutrality, for lack of a better word. I don't really like that word because it sort of implies that I have zero emotions about something. And that's absolutely not true. I still have emotions. I still have love. I still have compassion. I still have all the range of human emotions. It's just that when I have those emotions, it doesn't take over my entire energy field. It doesn't tank my entire day. It takes me a much quicker time to move through emotions and to appreciate emotions. And so when you're able to be in that love space much more often than you're in the pain or in the lower energies, it helps you to stay in that balanced state. One of the things I started working through recently was I was really super excited about a situation, and the situation kind of didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to, or the way that I was expecting it to. And that to me, first of all, was telling me, oh, hey, keep your expectations in check and, go with the flow and stop trying to predict or expect what is going to happen, right? That was part of it. But then also I realized that I needed to not be in that like super high excitement energy regarding this situation, because what that does is it's that pushing energy of, oh my God, I really, really, really want this to happen. Oh my God, oh my God. You know, that feeling of really wanting something badly. And there's nothing wrong with wanting something badly, but it's like the energy of it is coming from a space of lack mentality. And I know that sounds weird to say, but it is, because you're like, oh my God, I don't have this and I really want this now. And that's kind of what the energy is saying. So if you are able to move in the ebb and flow of things and say, yeah, I'm really excited and really happy about this situation, and leave it at that and not project into the future of what that might be, or not take those moments and expound upon them and say, oh, well, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, right? So if you have any questions about this channel, or you just want to share a story, feel free to put it in the comments if this is on YouTube, or you can always mention what you want to say on social media. And if you don't mind giving this podcast a 5-star rating, it really does help the channel. And I look forward to speaking with you in the next week's channeled message. As I mentioned before, the interview portion of The Heart of You is on pause for the moment while I'm developing the next show, which is called the Akashic Recordings. And that will be airing sometime in the end of January 2024, beginning of February. Okay? Have a wonderful week, and sending love to you all.
Have an amazing day, and never stop exploring your soul, because it is the most important relationship you will ever have.
If you are interested in learning more about me and the sessions that I do, feel free to go to my website at infinitesoullove.com. On all social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Infinite Soul Love 1111. Hey, and if you feel called, I would love it if you could rate The Heart of You on whatever streaming service you're using, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please take a moment, give it a review. It really does help the channel. Thanks so much.